Fine. We'll try not to talk over each of us. Um, Remember to unmute your phone, by the way, or your uh, presence, so that when you speak, we can hear you, because we all forget that. Next slide, please. Great. You know, before we go to Qmyno, am I pronouncing it right? Mino or Mino?
Qmyno.
Qmyno. My apology.
Yeah.
Qmyno. I'd just like to let everyone know that there's a group of volunteers. There may be 7, 8 volunteers, I forget the exact number, who meet every Monday morning to plan out the next couple of weeks. And Justin Wilson's the only one I'm going to name by name because he's our newest one. But if anyone would like to be a volunteer, we need them. There's no glory. There is a certain amount of work you got to do, but it's a great group of people and we need volunteers to make it happen. So if you're so inclined and want to step forward, speak to any of us. And so far, we're making Justin do everything so that the rest of us don't have to do anything. So with that, Qmyno and Jeff Englander is now going to present. He gets approximately 8 or so minutes to both tell us what he's challenged by and to give us a little bit of background. And with that, Jeff, thank you so much for your leadership and for your willingness to be our presenter.
Thank you, John, and to everybody in the community for 1MillionCups Fairfax. My name is Jeff Englander, and I am the CEO and minority owner of Qmyno. And what Qmyno is all about is we're truly trying to reduce business risk through fraud detection, early fraud detection, so that businesses are not harmed. And that's so important because it's not only protects your cash flow, but it can protect your reputation. And that's what we're about. If I may, Tony, next slide, please. This is my challenge question. Given everything that's happened, I am looking for advice to how to build my brand while acquiring new marketing partners and customers in a time of a worldwide crisis. My goodness, 3-4 weeks ago, I was having meetings, talking with investors, presenting to investors, having a great conversation. And then all of a sudden, we were locked down. And so to that end, we still have conversations with investors and marketing, but it is harder to get the word out. And so I'm looking to everyone here to help me with any new ideas, things that have worked for you, things that haven't worked for you. Everything is on the table. Next slide, please. What Qmyno is all about is we detect fraudulent modifications to files that are sent through the wild of the internet. And what do I mean? When you sit at your computer and you're sending an attachment to a friend of yours or to a business colleague, and you save a Word document as a PDF, you think it's locked. You send it off as an attachment, and then you expect your recipient to get the attachment. Well, I just want to educate everyone that it is not necessarily safe. Unfortunately, there are bad actors out there who have tools who can capture the file while in transit, open up the PDF, that is, unlock it, make modifications to your document, put the file back together again, and then send it off on its way to the intended recipient. Why do you think so? Okay, so what, Jeff? Well, here is the so what. You can Google online. There was a gentleman in Lithuania, one person. He was arrested. That's how we know about him. He intercepted over $150 million worth of customer invoices from both Google and Facebook, ad invoices. And he modified the bank routing information so that when those invoices were paid, the monies ended up in his bank account. And there was all kinds of issues, obviously, with the money, but also more importantly with the reputation and the relationships that Google and Facebook have developed with those customers was harmed. And so, yes, the money can be recovered, but sometimes the reputation can't. If I may, Tony, next slide, please. What we do and how we detect these modifications is that whether it's a PDF file, a JPEG file, a PNG file, that is a word processing file, a video or photo file, or a graphics file, we insert tokens at the time it's saved. And those tokens contain pertinent information addressing the details of what's in those documents. So when the document is received by the intended receiver, API, an application on a server, or an application on your phone, searches the tokens and notifies the receiver of any modifications, meaning that you cannot, if there are modifications, you cannot trust the document. That's really what it comes down to. It's identifying and notifying. And here is the big deal. Most documents are sent through the internet from a machine, some sort of server, to another server. So machine to machine transmission. So in the case of invoices, in the case of document management companies, like accounts receivable companies that send out a bunch of invoices on behalf of their clients, it's sent from their servers and it's received by the customer's servers, and then they pay it. So machine to machine, no humans looking at it. What we're saying is kick it out. When a document comes to the receiver's server, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud, we have the ability to notify the recipient saying, there's been modifications to this file, do not trust, please kick it out of your system and review it. And that's all it takes. And you will see that maybe the bank information was changed or other things were changed. Tony, next slide, please. This is a quick of where Qmyno has been up to now. This is a quick little diagram. We were established last July, and we spent most of the time between July and early part of this year on making sure the product was ready for commercialization. We didn't sell it, we didn't pre-sell it, we didn't, really go out and push it hard. We talked to a few investors in case someone wanted to come in early, but that was it. It was very minimal. So we built the product, and it's been tested by a third party, and we're looking at that third party as a customer as well as another big company. Once we have them lined up and signed and executed, you'll be seeing fireworks right from our offices. It's going to be a great time, and we'll be on our way. But what we're now looking at are customers. We were looking essentially at investors. Given the markets, we shifted our focus, we did a pivot, and we're now looking at customers to see what we can do about bringing more revenue in. One, being more attractive to investors, but also two is cash flow. Tony, next slide, please. Who are our target prospects? The target, the ones I really want to go after, are those what we call document management companies. As I mentioned earlier, companies that manage invoices or essentially accounts receivable for other companies, or maybe even Adobe or other types of companies that develop software to manage documents. These are the companies that I wish to talk to, because these folks have built-in networks, customers, sales personnel, a book of business. That's what we do. What we want is we want to take advantage of those partners, essentially making them partners, and using their infrastructure to get our product out to the end users. The secondary type of target prospect are shipping companies, import-export firms, equity and bond trading firms. These are companies that send out a lot of documents on their own to their customers, and they're highly regulated. Those documents must be exact. All those documents are managed through country, if you would, customs border patrol protections in the case of shipping documents or import-export firms. Or in the case of equity and bond trading, you're looking at federal regulators who are looking at to make sure that the trades are accurate, is what the buyer and the seller truly wanted. The last, if you would, target type of prospect are real estate firms as well as law firms, because they deal in personal identifiable information. We don't want those informations, if you would, exposed. One last point is that Qmyno is global. We have people in the Philippines, New York City, here in Fairfax. We also have contacts in Singapore and a couple of other countries coming on board. Next slide, please. Qmyno, what we provide to the market is a global digital document authentication, basically a sense of trust to the recipient that this document has not been altered. Or if it has been altered, we can provide a way for you to kick it out of your system and for you to visually look at that document. That method doesn't exist today in the wild of the internet. And so the good news is we're first to market. The tough news is being a pioneer is never easy. However, that's why my challenge question is so important. Next slide. This is what I call a public service announcement. Okay, I am in cyber, and I will mention, as we've all seen, please remain vigilant, for cyber criminals have ramped up their efforts during the pandemic. Unfortunately, work from home truly does mean an increase in what we call the attack surface. What is an attack surface? Every node on a corporate network, whether you're signing in from within the office or at home or from some other place in your car, if you're not secure, if you haven't changed the passwords on your Wi-Fi, if you haven't secured your computer through VPN, bad actors can get in through you into the corporate network, into other places. You don't want to be that person. Please be vigilant. Watch out for and report all suspicious activity. That's my service announcement. Next slide. So this is the challenge question. We are looking for new strategies to build our brand, acquire new marketing partners and customers in a time of worldwide crisis. And so all suggestions are welcome. And I thank you for your time this morning. John, I'll throw it back to you.
Jeff, thank you so much. Great presentation. Congratulations. Round of applause. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's on mute, but I could tell they were applauding, Jeff. So we're going to open it up for questions. And thanks, Jen, as I think Tony said at the beginning, use the chat room, raise your hands, and as I think Tony said, Jeff's answers will be short unless there's a particular reason to answer, because the questions and our comments are what will benefit Jeff. So with that, who would like to ask the first question? Well, then I'll do it. So Jeff, you're looking for both marketing partners and customers. So customers could be anywhere from Bank of America to Eagle Bank, which is more of a community bank that might not have quite the resources of a B of A. So which of those two, if not both, are targets?
Both, John, very good question. Both have, if you would, personal identifiable information, plus they're both of them are highly regulated. B of A was my bank, right? I use B of A, love them. Would love to be able to talk with them. However, so do a million other cyber firms. So they're buried. And I happen to know people down in Charlotte, and their security operations center is just getting inundated, if you would, with new suppliers, vendors, and whatnot. Eagle Bank, I'm not sure if they would be a good prospect, because I'm not sure how many documents they send out on a daily basis and whether they see the value. It's probably somewhere in between, John, is your answer.
Okay.
Nice bank. Other questions?
Yeah.
Deb has a question.
Donnell had a question. Is that what you said?
Deb?
Deb, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said you're looking for data companies and that sort of thing. So looks like it's obviously a good audience, but have you thought of, or is this included in some other aspect, medical offices, lots of billing that goes on with medical and doctor and, any kind of healthcare related platform?
Healthcare is very important because there are far too many documents being sent through the wild. And in many cases, they are either unencrypted or just, even if they're encrypted, maybe the encryption isn't as solid as they would hope. So they're under false, if you would, thinking. What I'm thinking is this, is that healthcare would be a great avenue for us, but healthcare is made up in many cases, many of small to medium-sized practices around the nation. Yes, you have the large companies, the healthcare companies, the big hospitals, but the number of them is small compared to all of the doctor practices, which are in the thousands. And so to the question, I'm really trying to figure out, how do I build my brand so I can get those folks to come to us? Outreach to them would be hard given the fact that we have a small number of employees. So how do I reach out to them and build my brand with them? Sure, I would love to? Absolutely.
Sure. So one follow-up, if I may, and one of the things that you could think about, because I agree with you, you don't really have the time to go after the small ones, but there's been a lot of consolidation in healthcare. And so a lot of these doctors' offices are banding together and so forth. And one of the things to think about is, if you could come up with a couple of case examples, maybe find a mid-sized healthcare provider and actually find a problem and fix a problem using your system. And then you've got a case example that you can show, hey, look at how well this works.
Great suggestion, Deb. Thank you.
I have Tony Barnett. Next question.
Omar also has her hand raised.
All right, there we go. So Jeff, quick question for you. Being in the cybersecurity industry as long as I have, mutually, that's where we met. My question to you is this. Have you found, or are you looking for the one industry that you have had good traction with? Because here's one of the things that I've learned from a few other companies. When you try and throw out a big net, you end up missing a lot of the wins, a lot of the lands. When you sit there and focus on a very specific market segment, industry, whether it be banking or something else, if you focus on the very small and win little ones gradually at a time instead of trying to throw out a big net, you'll have more success. And once you have legitimacy in one industry, you can leverage that into a bunch of others. I learned that the hard way when I was working with Assured. They wanted everybody to use their system. It wasn't until we found that one target vertical that had lots of traction that we actually started getting some degree of success. And I think if you sit there and instead of going for banks and all these others, which already have implemented a lot of their blockchain or implementing blockchain security in a lot of their documentation, you find that one that's not necessarily investing in themselves in developing their own technology, but find that small segment of that small industry that you can focus on and sell this to and get traction there. And then you can turn to others and say, well, look what we've done for these guys.
Great suggestion, Tony. Thank you.
Okay.
Omar.
Oh. Was I mute?
You're good.
Sorry. Are you guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really like the idea of case studies, and I understand that branding is the main issue. And I know we keep going to banking platforms, which are highly regulated, but what about, is it possible to create some kind of a case study with like a Venmo or any of those cash sharing sites? Now, I don't know if it's truly applicable to your service, because I get yours is about attachments, but I don't know the back end of those payment sharing services well enough to know if that is applicable. But something that's not as big as a Bank of America, still regulated, and that gets critical into the money story, which is in the end, the security is all about protecting money. It's my IP, it's my banking routing number, it's whatever the interaction is that we're sharing. So is there a way to possibly approach, I think there's one called Cabbage, there's a bunch of different payment sharing solutions, and if we could get a case study where you go in and work with them on something like that, that would be potentially a way to build a brand fast.
Thank you. Great suggestion.
Excellent. Jen?
Just a couple of thoughts and then maybe a question. So one is around, this feels like a big education gap where people may not realize that their documents can be at risk. So I think building out like a did you know campaign for LinkedIn. I think for you, doing a LinkedIn sponsored ad would be a great way to get in front of people who have the CTO title, people who run IT boutique firms. I would definitely think about doing webinars and maybe bringing in a panel of people who work with companies on cyber, especially right now. That's going to be a really relevant topic for people to attend. My question is, for services like Google Drive, Dropbox, and others, is your service even more relevant? Because let's say someone does hack in, they can't change documents, or like, does it work within those platforms? Is that a potential added benefit?
It is a potential added. I love to be able to talk with those companies and ask them for trials. One way to find out whether or not we work with them is through a trial. And so I would, if anyone out there has contacts with any of those companies, I would welcome the opportunity to present, demonstrate, and hopefully conduct a trial. Great idea.
I definitely have a few IT boutique firms who already work with businesses where you could get case studies there. There are also consulting companies that work only with doctors' practices, dental practices. So if you can find them as a strategic partner, that could be a differentiator for a smaller IT firm to offer as a service.
Thank you, Jen.
So Dan is up, and before Dan goes, I am getting some requests on the waiting list. And if someone can monitor that, Lisa Humes was trying to get in. I don't know, maybe she was invited. Maybe she is in now, I'm not sure. So Dan is up.
Hey, thanks, John. Jeff, great presentation. Thanks for the information. Two things. The larger healthcare systems like Inova and Virginia Health System, the big organizations locally, a lot of those farm out assets to physician practices that are affiliated with them. So and conversely, those doctors depend on them. So if you go to those, you may find a way into those physician offices. I think, or that avenue that Deb talked about. The second thing is, for my time in cyber, I work for McAfee, and we would work with a lot of smaller vendors that had a very unique solution that bolted on or integrated well with what they sold. So as you know, cyber is a very competitive space.
Yes.
So you may consider working with vendors that already have large vendors that already have a client list, they already have infrastructure, they have a sales force. And so if you could convince them that your solution bolts in or integrates or fills a hole that theirs doesn't, we would work with lots of small partners that would do what we didn't do.
And if anyone on the call, Dan included, could provide any good contacts, if you happen to have somebody at McAfee I can call, if you can make an introduction, your efforts would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, I have some people I can share with you.
Thank you. Other questions?
Yeah. Other questions? So I'll ask a question, and then I saw Deb just raise her physical hand, but I'll get you next. So when you think about marketing partners, who are the companies that are selling into your targets, who, like you, are professional, that if you could work together might have more of a package?
Well, those companies, the document companies that Jen mentioned are in, they would be terrific. The Dropbox would be a really outstanding, if you would, company to talk to. There are other companies in that space. Maybe there's somebody at Microsoft I could talk to. Maybe there's somebody in the cloud, if you would, whether it's Microsoft Azure or AWS or others, Oracle. I'll be interested in talking with those folks because maybe they would be interested in offering a service. But the biggest one, obviously DocuSign. If I'd like to be able to talk with those folks, there's a couple people I've been trying to get a hold of there. Those are a couple of examples, but there are others out there that I may not have thought of. So if others in the audience have great suggestions, I am all ears.
Excellent. Deb, did you want to add a comment?
Sure. I thought of another sort of line of business that you might consider. So I'm a management consultant and I specialize in the area of human resources. And there are a lot of recruitment is being done online these days. And as a result, there are also things like offer letters and resumes and those kinds of things. So you might think about looking at some of the platforms like applicant tracking software where, and I don't know exactly technically how that works, but that whole line of business where you've got people exchanging information with respect to employment, that might be an area for you to explore as well.
Yes, because if you think about it, they're moving documents with PII, and in some cases, that's as personal identifiable information as
Exactly.
or personal health information too. In some cases.
Yep.
So,
exactly.
Yes, that's excellent. Thank you, Deb. I appreciate that. Other questions?
So Jeff, as a follow-up, I will send in, I have a friend at Eagle Bank. She's probably in charge of 10 branches, but she certainly has access to the executive suite of Eagle Bank. And perhaps talking with her, Eagle Bank is a large community regional bank. So while there are probably a lot of cyber people hitting them as well, they're reachable. It's not like going to B of A where try reaching those executives. And so after this, I'll just make an email. Her name is Clarice Ribeiro. And I'll just email you and she and then make the introduction and you can take it from there.
That's terrific, John. And what John just suggested, I greatly appreciate it. If anyone else has good contacts where you think this would be a good fit, or maybe people know of somebody else who could use us, I would greatly appreciate any and all introductions. Thank you.
Absolutely.
My contact information there is on the screen. Feel free to send me a text or call me up, or if you're outside the U.S., feel free to use Viber.
I've got Donnell.
Jeff, how you doing?
Life is good, Donnell.
Great presentation. Along the same lines of what Deb said, is you may want to look at the Society for Human Resource Managers. They are, the front lines of people coming into their organization, and they also have to gather documents like bank information and that type of stuff. And so you may want to have conversations with them, and they may have avenues to get you into their organization. These are smaller, some of them are smaller organizations and some of them are huge clients, but I would definitely, try to visit these SHRMs and build relationships with those human resource managers that have access to the IT people in their organization, because they're dealing with a lot of PII information.
Thank you, Donnell. Appreciate that.
Phyllis, unmute.
Thanks. That's a great presentation. I just have a question about the security aspect. So if I'm sending a file and it's already encrypted, would I necessarily need your service on top of that, or how do those things stack?
Great question, Phyllis. Thank you. And the answer is, I believe so. And the reason why is, even though it's extremely hard, there are bad actors out there who have ways of breaking encryption keys, whether public or private keys, for whatever reason, either through watching you type, right? Because they command your keyboard, things like that. It is not a high probability, but it's still a probability. We can be included in encrypted files. We can be included in non-encrypted files over the VPN, not over the VPN. We can be included, and it doesn't hurt, because remember now, we are a notification service. We detect a modification to a file, so it doesn't hurt to have us. I hope I answered your question, Phyllis.
Yes, thank you.
Other questions at the moment?
Hey, Jeff, this is Jen. One question and then one thought. For someone to use your solution, can they be an individual who says, I know they can't go to your website right now to purchase it, but can it be deployed as an individual? And the reason I ask is because right now, with all of the forms being filled out for loans, for SBA disaster relief, et cetera, it seems like a really good time to, one, make that really clear that you can download this. If you're a banker, you want to make sure as you're filling out all these forms that they're protected. If you're a business owner and you're filling out all these forms on your own, make sure they're protected. So can you speak to that a little bit? Because it seems like now's a good time to really make that available.
In those particular examples you gave, I would greatly appreciate any contacts within the government agencies, because when they go out to fill out the form, they're filling out the form on their websites, right? So the individual goes to a website, fills out a form, and then I'm not sure what happens in the back end, right? But if there are files being transmitted when someone hits the word submit, then I would love to talk with them. We are not a B2C type company yet. We're trying to focus on the B2B market, because that's where, one, our expertise is. B2C takes a whole different expertise, which, right now my expertise is B2B, and I want to focus there first to be able to establish a foundation. And then what we'll do is we'll look at our model in about a year or so to see how well we've done, and we may end up pivoting. We may end up just strengthening what we have. So right now we are not B2C, but who knows what will happen in the near future. Thank you, Jen.
Tony Barnett.
Okay, Jeff, one thing that I thought about during the discussion going back and forth, it's an application, correct? So the way the process works, you use the application to secure the document before sending, and then the other side they can open it up, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Have you registered the product yet with Capterra?
We have patents pending. One patent, we have the application that goes on the server, as well as a patent for our application that goes in the cloud within a Docker container.
Right. Capterra is actually a review site for software. So if you go online and register the product on Capterra, CAPTERA, a great organization. You can go do the initial registration. An agent will call you, go through a Q&A. So they'll try and sell you on, uprising and upselling the product. If you have the budget for it, great. If not, it's still a free register and free listing. But the best part about it is that the companies and organizations that are looking for that specific technology, the IT directors and the CSOs and others look there first before making a purchase, and they look at the reviews of the product that you have before making a decision, and they'll be routed to your website or actually giving your contact information, and they can reach out directly to you. That's probably a great first step to even try and do this afternoon once we're off this call.
Thank you, Tony.
Any other questions? Well, Donnell, we may be turning to you for one final question. if that's okay. And then in our remaining moments, I'm going to ask all the newbies to introduce themselves, if that's okay.
So Jeff, again, great presentation. This is awesome to see you step out there and join the entrepreneurial ranks to solve a problem that's much needed out there in our community. You know, the question to you, and I know you're ready for it, but what can our 1 Million Cups community do for you?
Well, I greatly appreciate that question, Donnell. And this Q&A that has gone on this morning has been very helpful to me. I picked up some pretty good suggestions, some things I never even heard of. So this is awesome. And I want that to continue. So if the community can contact me after the fact, if you come up with a question or you come up with a way of doing something or even a connection, my contact information is on the screen, and I look forward to hearing from you. I'm also on LinkedIn. Feel free to search on my name and you will see my profile, and feel free to connect. But in either way, I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other comments before? We'll go there in a minute. Let's let our new folks who haven't been here before, and I apologize if I think you're new and you've been here and we haven't met, but I'd start with Christopher McPherson, maybe? I'm only seeing part of your last name.
Chris McPhee is a past presenter, right?
Yes, he's a past
Oh,
presenter.
wow, okay. Well,
I sit here on the back side. How you guys doing?
Good to see you.
tell us a little, 30 seconds about you and your business, and I apologize that I'm not familiar with you.
Is that John speaking?
Yes, it is.
How you doing, sir? My name is Chris McPhee. I'm the owner of Green Beret Media. We help people collect meaningful content, photo, video, audio to help them promote, inform, and inspire their audience. I spoke at 1 Million Cups probably about, it was about a couple months ago, Donnell?
Yep, 2 months
Time ago.
Yep.
So definitely familiar with the group. It just happened to slip in here on the tail end of the presentation, but thank you for having me.
Well, maybe this is a good point to make Chris the past presenter update.
There you go. You want to give us a little bit?
There we go, Tony. All right.
We can give him a little bit of notice. He can come back next week.
Yeah. Well, actually, I could give you some feedback. I've connected with quite a few people. Phyllis, I spoke to before about some patent items. Another lady, I forget her name right off the top of my head, I spoke to about some marketing and collaboration items. Also, far as my issue there was getting processes in place. So what I have done, I have took a couple steps back, looked at how I will go about including more personnel to my company to help me with the workload of processing the photo and video. Since our meeting, I actually went to go shoot my first conference event in Tampa. So that was a success. It helped me work out some processes with the client and some items on the backside. So going there that day and getting the feedback made me take a couple steps back and look at how am I doing things and where am I trying to go and what the steps I'm going to take to get there. So definitely the feedback was definitely overwhelming, and I took some time to go through it and process it, but I just took one piece at a time and contacted everybody as best as I can.
Excellent, and thank you. Ronetta, be so kind to introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Renetta Jones. I am the owner of Extraordinary Solutions. We provide brand strategy, professional development, and event management. My niche area is wellness and veteran and entrepreneurs that are either in their startup phase or restructure phase.
Excellent. Thank you and welcome.
Those both of those individuals that spoke are members of my veteran organization. Chris is my camera guy, and I know you guys seen his amazing work. And Renetta is the event planner for Veterans Grove, Virginia. They do amazing work, so I'm happy that they were able to join us this morning.
Excellent. Is there anyone else who's brand new at the moment?
I don't think so.
Good. So thank you for putting up this excellent schedule. As you can see, next week, too bad we're not going to be physically together because amore gelato, we could be eating delicious, delicious gelato next week. And as you can see, we are booked through May 6th. We're working on May 13th. May 19th, by the way, is a Tuesday. I saw that. I don't know why that's there, but we're the 13th and the 20th. And I have reached out to the first 4 companies on the applications in review and have asked them to fill in some of these dates. So hopefully soon we will be scheduled through May into the first week of June.
One thing I would throw out there for folks as you're talking with your business community, a lot of business owners are thinking about how to pivot or adapt right now. This 1 Million Cups or other 1 Million Cups, either in the area or across the country, there are over 200 chapters, are very good resources to apply and present and share what your pivot might look like. If you're moving online, what to think about, if you're changing your target market. So I just highly recommend if you have peers who are saying, oh, I need to figure out cash flow, I need to pivot or change somehow. I do recommend they consider presenting or applying to present.
Great thought. Great thought. I think we're drawing to a close.
Hey, John, real quick, can I ask a quick question? One of the things we normally do is we talk about events. So if anybody has any virtual events, if you want to post them in chat or chime in. I have my BNI tomorrow morning. If anybody's interested, now you don't have to drive there. You can just log right in at 7 o'clock. Just let me know.
I think I saw Rosemarie.
Yeah, I want to remind everybody today being Wednesday, we have our weekly webinars for Gravitate. Please let me know, ping me and let me know if you're interested in joining, or let someone else know. We're going through use cases. I know this group has used us a lot. We appreciate your ongoing support. We are getting a lot of new groups who are struggling to use email or Slack or other tools in this interesting new world that we're operating in. So just let me know if you'd like to join. Half an hour out of your day will get you up and running quickly. Thanks.
Hi, this is Mayasha. I just want to let you know, if you know anybody with kids between the ages of 3 to 11, we are doing online training Monday to Friday. I'll email that on Zoom.
Also, I tried to bring it up here. James Lawson is having free coaching sessions. If you look up James Lawson and look up his company, you'll see, I think he's got one each week over the next couple of weeks. I know he was on the call earlier, but I think he got blocked off when we had to block everybody. And I've been messaging back and forth with people telling him to hop back on, but he's got his events going with his company as well. And all you have to do is you can use the 1 Million Cups thing and it'll show up.
So
If I could do an event.
Please.
I'm Tamar Anderson. I know it says Boss Actions, but if anybody is interested, 9 a.m. on Thursday, Boss Actions is doing a live webinar for the Mason Enterprise Center. And if you just ping me, I will get you that link. It's called Bossing Success for Remote Work, so that you can better understand how to manage that people that you can't lord over and lurk over and micromanage anymore. So just to give some quick tips on that.
I love
Hey,
it.
Tamar, can you put your email or the best way for people to reach you in chat?
I will. Yep, I'll put it in there right now.
Thank you.
What
We
do you
do
mean
save chat messages, so if anybody had other ideas for Jeff or feedback or follow-up, please just drop a note into chat, because we do provide that feedback much like we do our index cards in person.
By the way, why can't we micromanage? I just call, email, and text.
Oh, John, that's a long conversation, and I will follow up with you directly. It's all, I mean, only if you want to keep your team and keep them engaged and crazy things like that.
100%. I'm with you. I'm with you.
And I'll throw in here at the end just a small public service announcement for anyone who has seniors or friends in their neighborhood who are seniors who are having difficulty getting out to the stores or getting supplies, especially the much valued toilet paper, paper towels, yeast, and flour. To let you all know, all the stores are getting shipments every night, and usually between 7 and 9 or 7 and 10. The stores are almost fully packed, eggs, everything. So if you have someone that is running low that you're trying to help, instead of running all over the place, if you just go to the store early with their grocery list, odds are you'll be able to get what they need for them. I've been helping out a couple of, myself, my daughter and I have been doing that. And when you get there at 7 o'clock in the morning at your store, 9 times out of 10, they have everything you need.
Yeah, and also the liquor store restocks typically Tuesday mornings, in case anyone wants to know that.
That's the
I get
most
my
critical
my
stuff.
wine delivered every month in a box that I create. So, also one last reminder for folks who were able to join today. Thanks for joining and sticking with us. Justin, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, I just real quick, if anyone needs needs any info on the SBA or the PPP, I have a bunch of so much information. It's like coming out of my ears. So if anyone needs any info, I can pass that along.
Thank you.
Can you put your information in the chat, please?
Yeah, I will do.
Just a reminder for next week. We're going to update the Zoom invite to a webinar. To be able to join, you will need to register. So I'm going to send that email out today, and I'll do a reminder on Monday and Tuesday just to make sure we get as many people as we can. You have to register to be able to join. That works really well for anybody who's running stuff and does not want to be Zoom bombed like we were.
Yeah, thanks everybody for hanging in there. We apologize for the ignorance of those individuals that think that type of stuff is funny. But Jeff, hopefully you got a lot of value out of today. I really learned something new, so thank you so much. And I just want to thank everybody for hanging in there with us. Please be safe. Social distancing is pretty tough, especially after day 12 or 13 or 16, whatever day this is. But I enjoy being around people, so this is a cool way to do it. And thank you guys for showing up.
So to end, we are 20 people, which is more than a week ago. Hopefully we will continue to grow. Like Donnell said, I apologize for that incursion by idiots. Terrible thing. We're lucky that we have each other. Everyone be safe. Enjoy whatever holiday you celebrate, even if we're doing it virtually this year. Enjoy your holidays. It's still important to celebrate. And may you all be blessed.
You're here.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you for doing this every week.